Right, folk, welcome back to another video beer review. Today we have a trio, an ensemble of sharks. I'm not sure that's what you call them. What do you call a pack of sharks? An ensemble? We have Verdant's Even Sharks Need Water, with a shark series that they do. I didn't even know it was this time of year they did it, but they have done it. I'm guessing they did it this time of year last year as well. So the only one I haven't got out of this series is, you'll see in the photo, is the baby sharks. It was on the tap, not when I went there. I went too early, it seems. I went at 5 o'clock after work, and they didn't have it on. They had some other beers, which had a tasting flight of, but it literally went on for about 2 hours after I left. So it is on there. I'm not really interested in trying it. It's not the sort of beer that I would drink. So we have the classic Even Sharks Need Water IPA with Citra Galaxy hot cider, Citra Galaxy cold cider, 6.5% ABV. I think it's only fair to do them as a trio review. We have Whale Sharks, the Dipper version, the double IPA version. Again, hot side Citra Galaxy, cold side Citra Galaxy. And 8.4%. And, classic Verdant, let's just go with 10% for Verdant, the brand new one this year. I think Baby Sharks might have been new last year, I'm not sure, but they got definitely on the right way, in theory. The Don triple IPA, 10% hot side Citra Galaxy, cold side Citra Galaxy again. So, is this going to become like a putty sort of series, where they release beers that taste like onions? I don't know. Each year, just the onion series. They should just take the piss out of themselves and just do the onion series. But yeah, I can't recall very much about this beer last year. I don't think I had it last year. I may have had it like at the tap or something, but I can't remember. So let's do the standard Even Sharks Need Water first. I've got as similar glasses as I can for all of them, and I'll open them as close to each other as I can, but I'll show you them the best I can at the same time. So quite high fill on this. Must say as well, got the three of them from the tap. They've done a deal, £25 for the three of them. Now, considering that is a bottle shop, sorry, it is a bar, not a bottle shop, because bottle shops are fucking dead, and it's sad. Don't have any bloody bottle shops here anymore. Very sad times. I only learnt the other day that In and Home had gone. So that is the beverage as it comes out of the can. It smells dank. It smells quite good. Let's now, in a fuller's glass, we're going to put the Whale Sharks. Again, I can't remember if I had this last year. I don't think I did. But you have a lot of beers. You tend to forget some of the beers. Anyway, let's pour this out into the glass. So I'm guessing it's basically the same beer within reason. Bigger malt bill in each one. I mean, this one looks a touch darker. I could be wrong. I'm going to pour a bit more in. Leave some in the can. Looks definitely marginally more opaque, this one. And then this is, I'm going to have a great morning after this. The Don, the 10% triple. Oh, baby, a triple. Triple IPAs, not my most favourite style of beer. I'll be honest with that. And that's a mild disclaimer on this review anyway. This is looking, I think, a little lighter in colour. Maybe. Fair play if you get some heads sitting around 10% as well. And it's developing, building, wanting to be around. And there we go. So, let's just do, I can't hold three glasses at the same time, but standard sharks versus whales. I'd say the whales is slightly slightly thicker looking. And then we have Wales versus the Don. Wales, the Don. And I think the Don is a touch darker. And then the Don versus, and you can definitely see there's a difference there. So, right, let's go in on the standard Even Sharks Need Water. Let's see what we get out of our nose. Yeah, it's pithy, grapefruit, kind of overripe melon, like really, really sweet honeydew melon. You know, like the core of well, not the core, but you know, as you get towards the centre of a honeydew melon and you get towards all the seedy, fucking shitty pippy bit. I don't like that bit. When it gets towards that, it goes a little bit kind of slimy and that sort of thing. I get a bit of a nose of that. That with maybe some candied kind of orange peel notes. What do I mean? Cheers. I won't say anything just yet. And now on to the whale sharks. This one's a little bit more, it's got all those flavours in the previous one, and I'd say it's got definitely a slightly chewier malt note on it, and a little bit sweeter as well, a little bit of a sweeter finish on it, and a little bit of a passion fruit nose, bit of papaya maybe as well. Dive in. That tastes like a classic Verdant beer. And then finally, onto the big boy. Onto the big boy, onto the Don. I've just got some thoughts about that beer just popped into my head. Let's give it a nose. I say small differences between this and Whale. Maybe a little bit sweeter again. Big old beers, these. Yeah, we'll dive in. Cheers. Yeah, that's a lot to take in for a man who normally drinks, you know, a lot of beers around. Obviously, I have drank beers at this sort of ABV in the past many a time, but I typically go for lower ABV beers nowadays. I don't think I would go for, just initially off that first taste, I would never buy Even Sharks Need Water. I would probably buy Whale Sharks. And I think the balance within the Don is surprisingly better than I thought it was going to be. Considering it's a hop combo, well, one of the hops I'm not the biggest fan of in Galaxy. Obviously, you know, citrus in fucking everything. It's fine. Galaxy, I don't seem to get on with very well. Let's give it a whole another taste of all of them. So you're dropping back down onto that. It's actually quite nice. But I think the Sharks, Even Sharks, just needs a little touch more residual sweetness. You're not really going to get that at 6.5%, but I think it would benefit from it. Because I think with Galaxy is I find it to be intensely herbal on the finish and grassy, and aggressively so. And it overall for me kind of turns the drinking consumption into a bit more of a slog, because it's just a taste that I don't enjoy quite as much. I enjoy like honeydew melon and that sort of thing, but when it's so earthy and, floral on top of it. It makes it a bit trickier to consume. Yeah, it just had a bit of a dry finish. Just a little touch too much of a dry finish. Let's go on the Wales. I tell you why I keep turning that camera around so I can't read it. Yeah, this has a fantastic nose on it. Real good nose. Lovely kind of residual sweetness, which you're going to always finish double IPA slightly higher to offset some of the other flavours. But I think a lot more hoppy notes come out in this one. I think there's way more kind of citra on show. And that kind of chewy honeydew melon sweetness. There is, though, again, there's a bit of a paracetamol kind of chalky note in this. Like a slight kind of chemical bitterness, which is mildly unpleasant, and kind of as a result of it, kind of tastes like one of those beers that will absolutely fucking hit you for 6. And it's not because of the ABV. Like a lot of beers, you get the 8% or 8%, and it can be hidden. It can be masked by a lot of things. But there's something in that just tells me you're going to get fucking battered by this. Do not consume me, sort of thing. Got to the 10%. It doesn't have that. It doesn't have that taste in that, which is quite surprising. So it's a lot sweeter finish. There is definitely elements of what you have in Whale Sharks with that kind of chalkiness and dryness, but it's nowhere near there like what you get in Whale Sharks. I think it's just there's so much more residual sweetness from the malt, makes it much chewier, and I think just weirdly seems a lot more balanced than what Whale Sharks is. I didn't think I was going to enjoy Don because, like I say, triple IPAs are not really my favourite style. I do enjoy a double IPA from time to time, especially in the winter. I like to just, buy 3 or 4 double IPAs and turn the tunes on, melt away into the sofa. Great fun to do. But I wouldn't do that with Whale Sharks. I've done it with maybe a couple of other double IPAs in the past. Like Flock make fantastic double IPAs. They really do. Flock and Phantom as well. I just haven't rated some of the stuff I've had from Verdant this year. And I'll probably go even so far as to say that if you want to be disappointed, like when you buy your putty, your putty and your triple putty and all that sort of shiz, I think you can probably be quite disappointed by this offering as well. I think even Sharks Need Water, I was originally going to go Don and then Whale Sharks, then Sharks Need Water, but I think the nose, I think there's qualities and imperfections within all of these beers. I think the Don is probably the best balanced. I think that's the best kind of overall beer. And I was really surprised. I didn't think it was going to be. With another taste on it. It's a big old beer, and I'm going to be drinking it for the next kind of a couple of hours. But it's got the lovely sweetness, honeydew melon, not too much chalkiness. Not too much chalkiness. There is a bit of a kick from it, for sure. Quite fruity. And then the aroma's good, and it kind of pings all around the mouth, and lovely flavours from it. I think even Sharks Need Water, the classic, the original, has dropped down by 4%. I think it's got elements of it, of the Dom, obviously would do, but obviously at a much easier drinking kind of ABV. But then you do get that little touch of a chalky note. And it's much less aroma. I think then whale sharks, let's go back in on that. I think this wins on aroma. I think that this has got the best aroma out of the three. It really springs out at you. And it smells kind of relatively chewy, sweet. Has this real kind of chewy, sweet, kind of almost caramel sort of note. Then it starts going really green, really, really fucking green. I think that's probably, I'd say, one of the problems with these is more so that they're all fucking green. Which is the problem that you get with fucking Butty. It's always way too green. That said, I did have a can of Putty and triple Putty the other day, and I'd say that they hadn't improved significantly. I think there's probably a little bit too much hop matter still in the beer, in suspension, which is making it quite difficult to drink. And if you catch my drift, if you worked in a brewery or anything like that, you know hop rates, and especially when hops are in suspension. I work for a real ale brewery where everything has to be dropped out and crystal clear. And when you're doing dry hops and stuff, it's a fucking pain in the ass to actually get stuff to drop out and be crystal clear. But if I'm like transferring into a tanker or something like that to get something bottled, like we're happening to do today, you end up seeing much more visually the amount of hops that can be in suspension floating around. And to look like the beer to look like this, you're going to have hops in suspension. But I think there is too much in this, and it's leaving a huge hop burn. And I think that's probably what I'm getting more than anything on the standard on the whale sharks. I think there is a hop burn in Don, but I don't think it's quite as bad as whale sharks. I think it's going to probably offset a little bit. So all in all, what I'd probably say is don't bother. Don't bother going out, and chasing this sort of stuff. Just don't have FOMO. It's easier for me to say. Because they're just released. I think they just released far too young. They could do with maybe another week or two in conditioning. Allow that hop burn to drop off, and maybe not filter it a bit, but allow it to just drop off, man. Like, yeah, it's going to be a big old night, a big old slog going through these. But don't you worry, I'll fucking do it. See you next one. Cheers.